So A'ja Wilson won Time Magazine Basketball or Athlete of the Year, not even Basketball of the Year. And you know what? Great year for her. Absolutely great year for her. Did she have a better overall season than someone like Shea on the NBA side? Maybe, maybe not. And honestly, I'm not gonna complain. 2 years in a row, it's been a WNBA player, which obviously is kind of something they're trying to push. But I think there's absolutely not too many complaints because she won everything.
A'ja Wilson's recent recognition as Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year 2025 marked a significant milestone in her career. Yet rather than basking in the glory of her achievement, she chose a different route, one that sparked controversy and debate within the sports community. Wilson's decision to use her platform to subtly criticize Caitlin Clark drew widespread attention, raising questions about sportsmanship, rivalry, and the underlying tensions that have been simmering beneath the surface of women's basketball. Wilson's remark that the history of the WNBA was erased for a minute was more than just a passing comment. It was a pointed critique aimed at Clark's explosive impact on the league during her rookie season. To understand the implications of this statement, it's essential to examine the context surrounding Clark's rise and Wilson's long-standing position within the league.
That put down Caitlin Clark in order to prop up A'ja, which is crazy because if you guys remember, Caitlin Clark was Time's Sportsperson of the Year just last year. So I haven't actually gone into detail reading these. I wanted to live react to them with you. This video might be a little rambly, a little ranty, but let's jump right in. So these are the screenshots that are going viral. Her rocket ship run comes at an opportune time. In 2024, Caitlin Clark's rookie season helped the WNBA hit milestone TV and attendance figures, but Clark's emergence created a toxic, racially divisive narrative that she was almost singularly responsible for salvaging a league whose foundation had been built by mostly Black player base. I'm gonna stop right there because, like I said, Caitlin Clark was Time Sportsperson of the Year last year, and in that article, she was asked multiple times about these narratives around Caitlin and the racial divide that happens in America, and specifically around women's basketball. It has gotten so insane, and she has denounced it so many times. She said it in the Times article that she doesn't want her name to be used for these different negative and divisive things.
Clark's debut season was nothing short of historic. She shattered attendance records, drew unprecedented television ratings, and captured the collective imagination of fans worldwide. Her ability to energize the sport, attract new viewers, and elevate the league's profile was undeniable. Clark became a household name, transcending the boundaries of traditional women's basketball to become a cultural phenomenon. She garnered mainstream media coverage, appeared on magazine covers, and was celebrated as the future of women's sports. In contrast, A'ja Wilson's career has been marked by consistency, excellence, and leadership. She's won multiple MVP awards, led the Las Vegas Aces to championship victories, and established herself as one of the premier players in league history. Yet, despite her impressive resume, her response to Clark's ascension was marked by silence, an absence of public congratulations or acknowledgement of Clark's accomplishments during her breakout season. This silence, coupled with her later comments, suggested underlying feelings of rivalry, insecurity, or perhaps even resentment.
Fact that Time Magazine named her Sportsperson of the Year in 2024 and then in 2025 turn around and put something like this in an article, by the way, you guys, that is supposed to prop up A'ja. This is A'ja's moment to shine. Try not to talk about Caitlin Clark, level impossible. This is A'ja's time to shine. Why are we even bringing this up? Why are we bringing up the toxic, racially divisive narrative around Caitlin Clark that she had nothing to do with? She had nothing to do with, and for the most part, it's the
When Wilson claimed that the history of the WNBA was erased for a minute, she was essentially suggesting that Clark's meteoric rise had overshadowed and perhaps even threatened the league's established history and her own legacy within it. While she presented this as a defensive stance, it revealed a deeper insecurity. Wilson's assertion was not made casually. It was a deliberate attempt to diminish Clark's impact, implying that her achievements had temporarily displaced the traditional narratives that had defined the league for years. The timing of Wilson's comments is crucial. Her remarks came after Clark's remarkable rookie season, during a period when Clark was undoubtedly the league's most talked about star. Clark had broken records, attracted millions of new fans, and redefined what a rookie could accomplish. Wilson, by contrast, had not publicly recognized or celebrated Clark's success during that season. Instead, she remained largely silent, even when Clark faced hostile crowds, threats, and aggressive on-court targeting. Wilson's silence in the face of Clark's challenges spoke volumes about her true sentiments, an undercurrent of jealousy and rivalry that she chose to conceal until her own moment of recognition.
And it looked like Caitlin Clark has been targeted by A'ja Wilson and Time Magazine. Guys, for this one here, we got to go all the way up to New York.
When Wilson finally spoke out in her Time interview, she framed her comments around the idea of protecting the league's legacy. She insisted that her criticisms were not personal, but rooted in a desire to safeguard the history and integrity of women's basketball. Yet, the timing and tone of her remarks suggested otherwise. Wilson waited until she was on the biggest platform of her career, the cover of Time magazine, to make these pointed remarks. This strategic timing indicated that her comments were less about league history and more about her own sense of threat from Clark's rapid rise. Her focus on her individual accomplishments, winning MVP awards, medals, and titles further underscored her mindset. She emphasized her resume, asserting that she would do her regardless and that her success was inevitable. This perspective reveals a lot about her competitive outlook. Wilson sees her legacy as a zero-sum game, where Clark's success diminishes her own. Instead of viewing Clark's rise as a beneficial development for women's basketball, Wilson perceives it as a challenge to her dominance and status.
Now, we got breaking news before we get into the content. Caitlin Clark looked like she has responded to A'ja Wilson and this whole Time magazine situation about 30 seconds ago. She went to her Instagram to put this up, and I'm telling you right now, this is major. Caitlin Clark stated, "Playing other sports is so good for my mind and body." So she's letting it be known, golf is where her mind state is. She ain't tripping off nothing else that is going on, because we just seen what we finna get into in this content that I'm about to show y'all why she said this.
Meanwhile, the language used in the Time profile added another layer to the narrative. It described Clark's emergence as creating a toxic, racially divisive narrative, implying that her rise was responsible for salvaging a league historically built by Black players. This framing, which appeared in Wilson's feature story, was a calculated attempt to frame Clark's success as problematic, an attempt to undermine her legitimacy and portray her as a disruptor rather than a star. By framing Clark's impact as divisive or toxic, Wilson and the league subtly shifted the narrative from one of progress and growth to one of controversy and division. This contrast between Wilson's public persona and her private feelings highlights the complex dynamics at play. Wilson has often spoken publicly about unity, supporting her fellow players, and elevating the sport as a collective effort. She's championed the idea of women supporting women, emphasizing leadership, teamwork, and shared success. Yet, her passive-aggressive comments about Clark reveal a different side, one that is willing to use subtle digs, coded language, and timing to undermine a player who has significantly increased the league's visibility.
You can always tell who reads articles for joy and better understanding of something, or someone, versus who reads articles just to look for something they disagree on or to stir up stuff. It's crazy out there, y'all.
This apparent contradiction suggests a calculated strategy. Wilson's words in the Time magazine interview confirmed what many fans suspected. She harbors resentment toward Clark's rapid ascent and the attention it has brought. Her use of her platform to subtly cast doubt on Clark's achievements, while simultaneously claiming to defend the league's history, exposes her as someone attempting to protect her own standing rather than fostering unity. The league's handling of these contrasting narratives exposes its own biases and priorities. When Clark dominated headlines and broke records in 2024, Wilson and other players voiced concerns about the fairness of individual recognition, framing it as a threat to team cohesion and league unity. Wilson suggested that Clark's spotlight was problematic, often invoking race as a reason to diminish her achievements. Sheila Johnson, owner of the Washington Mystics, echoed this sentiment by saying the entire league should be on the cover of Time, not just Clark. In this context, Wilson positioned herself as a defender of the league's collective legacy, an effort to ensure that Black players' contributions were recognized and valued. She argued that Clark's media attention overlooked the foundational Black players who built the league. She portrayed her own recognition as a safeguard for the league's history, emphasizing collective achievement over individual stardom. Fast forward to the moment Wilson appears solo on the cover of Time as Athlete of the Year. Where are all those voices demanding shared recognition now? The same voices who criticized Clark for individual accolades are silent. Wilson stands alone, representing herself and her achievements, without any calls for her teammates or the league to be included. The narrative that Clark's rise was divisive and harmful has suddenly vanished, replaced by a celebration of Wilson's individual success. This stark contrast reveals the league's selective approach to recognition and controversy. When Clark's achievements benefited the league, bringing record-breaking attendance, ratings, and sponsorships, officials remained largely silent, even when critics questioned whether her success was deserved. Yet, when Wilson receives her own recognition, the league embraces her with open arms, celebrating her as the face of women's basketball without considering the broader implications. Wilson's earlier criticisms about race and media bias seem even more revealing in this light. She suggested that Clark's attention was partly due to her race, implying media favoritism. Yet, Wilson faces no scrutiny for her own recognition, nor for her exclusion of other Black players from the spotlight. She is celebrated solo, with no questions about representation or diversity. This double standard exposes the league's underlying priorities. The real concern isn't fairness or collective success, it's maintaining existing power structures, protecting the established hierarchy of stars and narratives. Clark's rise threatened to disrupt this hierarchy, leading to criticism and resistance. Wilson's recognition, by contrast, reinforces the old order, where individual achievements are celebrated selectively and narratives are curated to serve certain interests. Wilson's resentment runs deeper than just awards and media coverage. The numbers tell a clear story. Clark's TV ratings, social media engagement, and endorsement deals far surpass Wilson's. Clark's influence extends into mainstream culture, with campaigns, magazine features, and global sponsorships that Wilson cannot match. Clark's crossover appeal attracts diverse audiences beyond traditional sports fans, making her a global icon. Wilson's influence, meanwhile, appears to be waning. Her impact on the international stage and her marketability are diminishing as Clark's star continues to rise. Her influence on her team's international reputation is also in decline. Clark's leadership at Indiana has helped develop teammates like Lexi Hull and Aaliyah Boston, who have become more confident and effective under her mentorship. Wilson, on the other hand, has largely focused on her individual stats, MVP awards, and scoring titles, often ignoring the importance of team dynamics and leadership. Her approach has been more about personal accolades than fostering growth within her team or the league. This difference in leadership styles is stark and telling. Clark embodies a team-first mentality. She celebrates her teammates' successes, elevates others, and creates a positive, inclusive environment. Wilson's approach is more self-focused. Her public statements often revolve around her own achievements, and her attempts to stay relevant through controversy and subtle shade reveal insecurity and a desire to cling to relevance. The cultural and commercial influence of Clark is evident. She appears on major lists like Forbes 30 Under 30, collaborates with global brands, and commands social media engagement that Wilson's accounts struggle to match. Her global appeal crosses cultural boundaries, inspiring a new generation of fans and athletes. She represents a vision of women's basketball that transcends the sport itself, becoming a symbol of empowerment, leadership, and progress. The market response further underscores this shift. During Clark's breakout year, women's basketball merchandise sales surged by over 500%, with Clark jerseys outselling Wilson's by a wide margin. Attendance at her games skyrocketed, and television ratings soared whenever she played. These numbers clearly demonstrate her value to the league's future and its growth potential. Meanwhile, Wilson's career achievements, multiple MVPs, championships, and a legacy as one of the greatest players remain impressive. Yet, her impact pales in comparison to Clark's immediate influence. Clark's ability to generate revenue, attract sponsorships, and inspire fans has made her the most valuable asset in women's basketball today. Her influence on the sport's cultural and commercial landscape is unprecedented. Wilson's timeline of comments about Clark reveals her true feelings. She remained silent during Clark's record-breaking rookie season, but waited until Clark received major accolades and media attention to speak out. Her comments in the Time interview were carefully timed to diminish Clark's impact while promoting her own legacy. This strategy underscores her insecurity and her desire to maintain her status as the league's premier star. After days of speculation, Clark finally responded. Fans and critics alike wondered how she would react to Wilson's veiled attacks. Her response was simple but impactful. She posted a heartfelt message on Instagram, congratulating Wilson on her Time Athlete of the Year recognition. Her message was devoid of resentment or passive aggression. Instead, it was genuine, encouraging, and supportive. Clark's post highlighted Wilson's accomplishments and praised her for her incredible season. Her gesture demonstrated maturity, grace, and true leadership, qualities that define the best athletes both on and off the court. In stark contrast to Wilson's attempts to undermine her, Clark's response elevated the conversation and set an example for how athletes should handle rivalry and success. This contrast in character is revealing. Clark's approach shows her understanding that the sport benefits when players uplift each other, when successes are celebrated collectively rather than used as weapons to undermine rivals. Her focus on fostering a positive, inclusive environment makes her a role model for the next generation of women's basketball players. Wilson's tactics, using her platform to create controversy, throw subtle shade, and undermine Clark, are indicative of someone who is losing ground. Her attempts to stay relevant through manufactured drama only highlight her insecurities and her inability to adapt to the evolving landscape of women's sports. Clark's approach, on the other hand, demonstrates the qualities of a true leader, charisma, humility, and a focus on growth. Her influence extends beyond basketball. Clark appears on major lists, partners with global brands, and maintains a social media presence that continues to grow. Her crossover appeal reaches beyond sports fans into mainstream entertainment and culture. Her impact is measurable and undeniable. She's not just a star athlete, she's a cultural icon in the making. Meanwhile, Wilson's influence appears to be declining. Her previous dominance is being challenged by Clark's meteoric rise. The numbers show a clear shift. Clark's performances, media coverage, and endorsements are outpacing Wilson's. Her international appeal is expanding, and she's becoming a global ambassador for women's basketball. Her influence on her team's development is also noteworthy. Clark's leadership at Indiana has helped teammates like Lexi Hull and Aaliyah Boston grow into confident, effective players. Her team-first approach, her mentorship, and her ability to elevate others demonstrate qualities that Wilson has yet to embrace fully. Clark embodies collaboration, positivity, and a focus on collective growth. Wilson's approach is more individualistic, focused on personal achievements and maintaining her dominance through controversy and strategic positioning. The cultural and commercial landscape further highlights this divide. Her social media engagement is significantly higher than Wilson's, and her appeal is broadening beyond the sport. The economic impact is equally clear. During her breakout year, women's basketball merchandise sales surged dramatically, with Clark jerseys outselling Wilson's by a wide margin. Attendance at her games increased, and her presence in media and advertising campaigns expanded. These numbers confirm her status as a driving force behind the league's growth. Wilson's legacy, impressive as it is, cannot match Clark's immediate and widespread influence. Clark has achieved in a single season what took Wilson years to accomplish. Clark's ability to generate revenue, attract sponsorships, and inspire fans worldwide makes her the league's most valuable asset today, but chose to speak out after Clark received major awards and media attention. Her comments in the Time interview were carefully timed to diminish Clark's impact while boosting her own legacy. This strategic move underscores her fear of being overshadowed and her desire to cling to relevance. Finally, Clark's response to Wilson's veiled attacks was a masterstroke. She posted a simple, heartfelt message on Instagram, congratulating Wilson on her Time recognition. Her message was genuine, supportive, and devoid of resentment, an embodiment of true sportsmanship. Clark's response contrasted sharply with Wilson's attempts to create controversy, revealing her character and her understanding of the sport's broader significance. In conclusion, the rivalry between Wilson and Clark encapsulates the broader tensions within women's sports: the old guard versus the new wave, individual achievement versus collective progress, controversy versus class. Clark's rise signifies a shift toward leadership rooted in positivity, or does Caitlin Clark's meteoric rise signal a new era in women's sports? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest insights. Check out the next video on the screen, and we'll see you in the next discussion.